Listen to Whispers on AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog. It is Tuesday, March 24th, and was it about 58 degrees outside?
That's wishful thinking. I think
it's warm. I like it.
Maybe in the sun and out of the wind, but I'll tell you, I didn't think it was that warm when I was out on my back porch today, cleaning up after the dog.
Yeah, see, I'm looking on the computer. Computer has nothing. The computer never tells me anything. Is your computer telling you anything?
No, mine is a question mark, and that's because it can't figure it out either.
What I thought outside. I thought I saw 50.
The wind stop, it goes up, and when it goes, it goes down.
That's it.
Oh, well.
That's it.
Well, we're here without Jordan today.
Yes, my condolences.
Yeah, my Jordan and I lost our great-grandmother on my, I guess it would be his dad's grandmother, my great-grandmother, his great-grandmother. She's been going for a while. She's one of those. She was a feisty woman, so it took her a while, to finally get there. But it's kind of like what I was telling Steve earlier. We knew it was going to come, and she was struggling for a while and held on for a long time, and so. But he went down. He was the pallbearer for the funeral, and there's Old Regular Baptist. Have you ever heard of that denomination?
Old Regular
Baptist. Very, very different. She actually had never cut
I've heard of Old Baptist and Regular Baptist, but never
I've been around you for a while, Nick, and it's the first I've heard it.
It's very different. It's a they don't believe in instruments in the church. The women never cut their hair. So my great grandmother had never cut her hair. So it was when she let it all the way down. I've only seen it a couple of times. It was all the way down. On the ground, kind of going down a little bit. And, it's a very different ceremony, so it was probably a long ceremony. Yeah. And, when my grandfather died, he had the funeral in there. It was weird because, the pastor will be talking, and all of a sudden he'll start shaking hands with people in the, like in the back, because they'll have these, on the women on the one side in the back, and the men, members of the church. So he'll start going, kind of agreeing with them, It's weird. It's different. It was interesting.
It's evangelical?
I don't think I...
No? No?
It's weird. It was very different. And I don't know if anybody ever heard of Old Regular Baptist. You know anything about them?
What town is he in now?
He is in a little town in Mingo County called Gilbert Creek. Okay. Gilbert.
Well, we all know about Mingo County.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very different.
Yes, it is.
What have you heard?
About Mingo?
You get a little accent when you say that.
Of course I do. My God, that's down in Gold's country. Didn't y'all know that? That's where the Hatfields and McCoys used to fight all the time. I got relatives come from down there.
It's bloody Mingo. Oh, you do? Yeah. We might be related, Lola.
Which side? I'm from the Ohio or the Kentucky side.
Are you a Hatfield or a McCoy? No.
That's what I don't remember.
Oh, really?
But one of the... Whoever was in Mingo, I was the other family because we used to come up to the river.
We, of course, Jordan's last name's Klein. There's, if you go into the phone book in Gilbert or this area, Klein's like half the book. So not that long of a book either, though. But we were from the Gilbert's on like the western part of the county. I don't know how much I'm familiar. Have you ever been down there?
Yeah, I've been to Matewan.
Matewan, okay. Matewan's the other side, so we're not related probably.
Oh, I'm sure we're not really. My people come.
She's like, I hope not.
My people come from southeastern Kentucky.
Well, see, I'm surprised.
By Mammoth Caves.
I thought you were from Detroit.
Well, that's where I was born and raised, but my people.
Your people.
My people.
Your peeps.
My people. Yeah.
I'm comfortable with the fact that I'm from the tip top of the state.
He'd rather not be from Detroit or Mingo. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't want to be from Detroit. Especially after the football team. It was bad.
No.
It was. I don't know. Now you had a story that we were talking about outside that's kind of interesting. When we had Lorraine Warren on. Did you get to listen to that at all? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even introduce. We have Dan's with us today, filling in for Jordan. Dan Snyder. Say hello, Dan.
Hello.
Yeah, so I'm all off kilter without Jordan here.
Oh,
He's my balance. I could go crazy. It could happen.
That's a scary thing that Jordan is our balance. But,
someone has to balance him too. It's kind of
at least
off kilter
he's
yin yang.
Calling from a bathroom.
He might.
Or a moving car.
He said, if I'm on my way back, I'll try to call in. And I said, we're just going to hang up on you. I said, we're tired of talking to you over the phone.
Jordan, you're cut out.
Can't. Yep. Yeah, so you remember we had Lorraine Warren on talking about a haunting in Connecticut? She was Amityville Horror.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and she was also investigated the house where they had the haunting in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Which is the movie coming out that
right.
I've still not seen a preview of this movie yet. Jordan keeps telling, it's going to be awesome.
The trailer should be on.
I just have never had time, and now I have a DVR, so I just fast forward through all the commercials, so I miss it all.
Oh, I do. I don't watch a commercial.
Yeah. So, but
Lorraine's the one that did the investigation in the Connecticut.
She investigated
house.
it. Now, Dan found an article where the people that live in the house now
are having lots of problems.
Yeah.
But not the type of problems that you would think in connection with the house.
Not ghosties.
Not ghosties, but visitors that will not leave them alone, especially now with the movie coming up. Just tourists that are coming out. People ringing their doorbell, scaring their kids because they're telling them their house is haunted. I'm not sure. It doesn't say exactly how young their kids are, but apparently they're young enough to take in what they got. But people slowly driving past their house, morning, night, all the time, and so they're afraid with the movie release coming out, and after people actually start watching the movie, that traffic is going to just seriously increase. They've already increased police patrols in that area.
To me, that's just crazy. I mean, if you're going to, number one, you got to respect people's privacy, but I mean, it's like
the trailer right here.
You have the trailer?
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, is it?
Well, wait a minute.
It's freaky.
It is?
You haven't seen it?
I've not seen the trailer. We watched.
You can get it on that computer.
Really? We watched the. It was on A Haunting. Have you ever heard of that? Jordan actually went and bought the video A Haunting with the actual from Discovery Channel, I believe it is, or A&E, something like that, with the movie, the actual story. I mean, because talking to Lorraine, she's like, oh, they've added all kinds of stuff. I told her about the 1920 seance cast members on Internet Movie Database. She's like, seance? There was no seance there. She was very upset with a rooster crowing in the background. So.
Well, this haunting, if you know anything of, like, they move into this house, and I think it's a teenage son.
Well,
takes up his bedroom in the basement.
Yeah, and the teenage son, if it's the one I'm thinking of, he was having cancer. They had moved there actually so he could get treatment at somewhere locally for his cancer, and they actually put them down for, according to the A Haunting episode, down into, this used to be a morgue. The house was.
Right.
So they put their beds down in the morgue part.
It was a funeral home.
A funeral home, yeah.
Okay.
And this is where they kept the bodies. That's where they put them. And I guess they would see people standing in the corner like all night, just milling about, scaring them half to death. And their mom and dad are like, there's nobody down there, And so you'd see the videos where they were showing the reenactment. These people are standing in the corner, and the kids just kind of like staring at them like, what are we going to do, And it was pretty scary.
It was like it, because the area where they actually prepared the bodies was in a separate room in the basement. The door was locked, and I guess apparently it takes them some time to get into. But, I mean, just the preview alone is just creepy to me. That type of stuff. I'm not necessarily the biggest believer in all this, but, your imagination can still take over and play games. I can tell a story here in a little bit about when I worked the midnight shift at the McClure House, security. I'd freak myself out all the time.
Yeah.
Just I'd go down through the hallway, long
there's
hallway
some freaky
corridors.
People to stay there too.
Well, there was, especially on the weekends, and but I would just get this feeling, and I didn't believe, but you just get this feeling that I was afraid that if I turned around, there was going to be a figure at the other end of the hallway, just standing there, just staring at me.
Well, what's one of the best scenes in any scary movie is the long hall, and as you're walking, the hall is getting longer and longer instead of close. Oh yeah, that's.
Well, I mean, I always think of when the Shining, where the kid's riding his big wheel down the hallways, and every time we turned the corner, you're thinking, oh, there's going to be somebody there.
Yeah.
And they just let it keep going. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. All of a sudden, they're there, the two little girls.
The twins, yeah.
The twins,
Have you guys, either one of you, freaked yourself out with the mirror? Like the bathroom medicine chest, you open it, you get something out, and then you stand there for a second going, okay, yeah.
I know.
Do I shut this or not?
I was talking to somebody about the Bloody Mary, where you turn off the lights and say Bloody Mary in front of the window.
Oh, I did that in junior high.
Did it work?
Never even heard of it.
You've never heard of that?
No.
You go. We're gonna have to take a break here in a second. You're gonna have to go do this.
Go to the bathroom.
You go into the bathroom over here. You fill the sink up. I've never heard of fill the sink up.
Oh, see, the one we did, we filled the sink up. We had to hold our
Maybe
breath.
Maybe that's why it didn't work for me.
We had to hold our breath, stick our face in the water for so long, and come up, and we supposedly have marks on your face. But
I had never heard of this one.
Not doing that one.
Yeah,
the one
it never worked anyway.
The one I heard was you stand there and you say Bloody Mary 5 times, and then when you turn the lights on, there's supposed to be somebody behind, like in the mirror with you. Have you ever heard of? You've never?
No, I've never heard of this. But I will go on our break. I will go in the bathroom, and so I go in with the lights off, stand in front of the mirror, say Bloody Mary 5 times, and flip the lights on.
Yeah. That's about it.
If anything happens, you've got to run the rest of this show.
Oh, we'll just turn it off.
We'll figure it out.
I'll call the cops.
We won't even be back in here. We'll just
we're not back on after the break. Something's happened. So we're
Amanda, come save us from evil spirits.
Gosh. Now, if anybody out there has heard of this, and it's, I don't know, I guess girls do it. I remember there was a Supernatural episode, actually, that featured that we were talking, Jordan and I have been watching Supernatural, and got my wife hooked to it. She loves it. Have you ever watched it at all?
Mm-mm.
Really good show. You should try it out. But these people did it at a sleepover, the girls, teenage girls, and, they're waiting, and all of a sudden,
shouldn't have smoked
one
that
of them
joint
died.
before they did it.
Well, one of them died, and then every time there's a mirror, there's somebody in the mirror watching them or something, because I guess they unlocked, the doorway that should never have been unlocked. Or
what was that on?
Supernatural.
Wasn't there just a movie called The Mirrors?
I don't know if that's got anything to do with it or not. That's
I don't know.
What was that? Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah, he's weird, anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, do not say anything about my Jack.
I like Jack Bauer, but he's still a little weird. His dad,
Damn
Donald
it.
Sutherland. What?
Damn it.
I haven't got to watch the latest episode of that.
Oh, from last night?
From last night.
John and I agree. They belted up all week as being the most compelling episode yet. No, not so much. It was one of those episodes that, and like Lost, everybody's got to do it. You have to have one episode that sets up the next line in the story, and I think that's what last night was.
We're
on
catching
24.
up. We're trying to catch up with Lost now.
Heroes was good last night.
I need to start watching Heroes.
I've lost track of so much.
I watched
TV.
the first 2 seasons, and then I kind of lost track.
Oh, well, you could pick up the whole season on the internet for this year, and but we were telling Kelly, you don't even have to watch season number 2 from Heroes, because it's nothing about what's going on now.
Yeah.
But yeah, anybody out there listening, anything like if you know anything about what Nick said about the Bloody Mary, or just anything, even just something that you've freaked yourself out on, just call in, let us know, or anything you've experienced. We're open to calls. That's what we want to fill this hour with, is you, the listeners. Yeah.
Now, we're talking about UFOs tonight. So I actually found a couple of UFOs. These are actually out of Pittsburgh. This first one starts out, and I'm going to ask you a question, Lola, because you have seen a UFO. It says, it's amazing, but there are many UFO sightings that are never reported until 20, 30, sometimes 40 years, plus years after the fact. Now, I've never seen a UFO. Now I'm starting to think, I kind of know most of the places where you can even report them, and you could call the cops or something. But I know, did you ever report the one you saw?
Report it? No.
No.
To who? The Blue Book Project.
Well,
that was just going to get filed away. But it wasn't a secret either. I mean, as soon as we got home, we were telling everybody.
Yeah. These days, I think I would call MUFON or something. Mutual UFO Network.
Well, see, this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even have known who to contact about reporting it.
Yeah.
So.
We have a caller?
Yes, we do. It's Brandon. Hi, Brandon. You're on the air.
Hey, Brandon. How's it going?
I'm good. The story you guys were talking about, the supernatural.
Uh-huh.
I live in our house probably 100 years old, at least. And it's a couple years ago now. We had redone all our flooring and stuff. We ripped up our carpet, and we were going to go back to hardwood floors. And everyone, with everything going crazy, like everyone kind of switched bedrooms and kind of moved around, just kind of redid everything. And my bedroom got moved down to downstairs. And it's probably like 1 o'clock in the morning one night, and I'm laying in bed, and we have these big, huge cabinets in the kitchen, and they just start slamming.
Oh, man.
There's like 6 of them, I think, and they just start slamming, and I'm like, what is that? And I start yelling for my brother. I'm like, hey, be quiet out there. Mom and Dad are sleeping. And it's just slamming and slamming, and then we have a cellar door that leads downstairs, and it's like one of the lock ones with the rattles. Like I guess like the eye bolts.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I hear it shaking along with the cabinet. And I'm like, what is going on? And we have one room that separates my room from the kitchen. And I stepped out, and as soon as I step into that room, I don't hear anything. So I'm like, whoa. And I peek around the corner, and one of the cabinets is open. And I don't see anybody, and I'm just being a little suspicious and just looking around, and I kind of slowly creep into the kitchen, and that door is still locked that goes down to the cellar.
Huh.
I don't hear anything. All the lights are still off. And I end up going upstairs, and I said, I think somebody's in the house, Mom. And I ended up waking my dad up, and I said, Dad, I think somebody's in the house. And I told him what had happened, and we searched the entire house, me and my dad. Closets, underneath places where nobody could fit, nothing. We couldn't find anything.
Now, is there anything, I have to ask, are you close to like a railroad or anything that could have been shaking the house?
Nothing.
Wow.
Sounds like it was really windy and there's a huge draft in the house.
Oh, yeah. I wish that's what it was.
Now, I mean, even with the wind and train and everything, when the cabinet doors start shaking, that's a problem.
And it wouldn't have been as bad as if I went around the corner and the cabinets were shut and everything was fine.
Uh-huh.
But one of the cabinet doors was open. And we have the ones that are kind of like magnets, like they kind of click into place. And it's not easily opened,
See, mine are always open. That's because I never close them. I'm horrible. Grab a cup, leave it open. Now, where exactly was this house again?
Barnesville.
Barnesville, okay. And there's a lot of old houses out in Barnesville.
And you know what? I've heard a lot of stories out of Barnesville about different houses in different areas.
Well, that's like right near Egypt Valley, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I hear a lot of stories about Egypt Valley, especially a 100-year-old house. Is this the only time that anything happened in there, or anybody ever hear anything, voices? Or
there was a couple that lived there before us, and I didn't know him. I believe his wife passed away in the house.
Uh-huh.
And it was kind of been off and on, like the dog's doing weird stuff. My mom had thought she'd seen something like out of the corner of her eye, and the dog would like lift her head up and look, and then the dog would like come over and like huddle up beside her like it was scared. Stuff like that had happened, and my mom would be upstairs and thought someone walked in the house and then yelled down, thinking it was either me or my brother, and then no one would answer her. And then like what happened with me was like the final thing, and like we ended up having like the preacher and stuff come in.
Yeah, I think that's when you start calling.
Yeah.
And I mean that we were talking about UFO cases never being reported. Ghost cases are never. I mean, there's nowhere you can report them. Where and it's hard. I mean, you get a lot of people. You get a lot of kooks out there. I've seen people walking through the house. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of this stuff's never, investigated to get, verified one way or the other.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, but thank you for your call.
Oh, thank you.
What do you think you'd do to a house like that? Sell it?
No.
No?
No, it depends on, get somebody in that can actually figure out what the spirit wants. I mean, it might be something as simple as doing something for it and it's going to leave.
Now, you've got your new doggy at your house. Mm-hmm. Has it started staring into corners and stuff?
Yes, she's done that.
Yeah.
She has done that. Although, Amanda was at my house.
Oh, really?
And Now, granted, the house was it was after my mom's. It was my mom's wake, so there were tons of people, but she never said anything about feeling anything necessarily when she walked in the house. But she did feel things from certain people, like I should have a grand niece or nephew soon. I'm hoping, but but that was and I meant to ask her specifically. You know, did you feel? Because my house is really old.
Yeah, and there's a lot of old houses around here. I've always been curious. I'd like to, grab Andrea. Let's, go out and hit all the hot spots.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if we should try to talk her into going to the prison.
She won't do it.
She won't go into the prison? Really?
No. And I don't. Honestly,
I don't know if I blame her, I guess.
No, if you were that in tune with spirits,
that would be a scary.
Why would you open yourself up to a place of nothing but malevolent, evil spirits?
And see, that's something I always thought. When we go before with the other tours, like the one, remember Sherry Breakwater that we had here? She has a woman that comes and it's a psychic that gives readings at the prison. They have the waiting room or the where people would meet. She'll give the readings in there, and I always wanted to ask the woman, but she stays busy the whole time she's there. How can you even give a reading with somebody when you're right here at Grand Spook Central, kind of, if everything flowing in.
Well, speaking of the pen trip.
Sure.
Paula called, and she definitely, I don't know if we've got a slot open, but I know she's going to drop the money off this week. It's 35?
45.
45, okay. So. And she wanted to know about age limits.
We were going 18 over. I mean, just, what's the age?
It might be her oldest daughter's, like 16, 17, something like that.
I'll talk with Jordan and see. I have to check the rules that they give us.
I would think legally there may be some problems if you're not an adult.
They sent us all this paperwork, and I've got to go back through again, and I cannot remember if there was an age thing on there. But you want to go ahead and we'll take a break here. And now if you want to give us a call, tell us your story. Is your house haunted? See UFO, scare yourself? Have you went to the mirror and said Bloody Mary?
I'm going to do that now.
You're going to go do that now.
I'm going to go do the Bloody Mary now.
So give us a call, 304-214-1600. Out of the area, 866-514-1600.
Very good.
I'm getting good at this.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So
where's our music?
I'm your balance.
Dan's got to be my balance today, so.
You do it so well, Dan.
I've been off kilter all day. You won't believe. I'll tell some of the stuff that's happened to me today. It's been a crazy day. So we'll be right back with you. AM 1600 WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog. You're listening to Whispers. Well, we're back and missing Lola.
You know what? I think she got confused.
I did not think it was going to work.
She's down the street at the bar going, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
And they keep refilling. They
like 5 times.
She's starting to see stuff. She doesn't even need a mirror.
Yeah.
Pink elephants. Don't we have pink elephants around here?
No, I did look this up on Wikipedia, the authority of all authority.
Yeah.
It says it's a game in which a ghost of the same name, or sometimes other names such as Mary Worth, is said to appear in a mirror when summoned. One of the more common ways participants attempt to make her appear is to stand before a mirror in the dark, most commonly in a bathroom, and repeat her name 3 times, though there are more. There's one here, in some versions they say, Bloody Mary, I killed your son.
Nice. That's just really
Or I killed your baby. Yeah.
Oh,
and
murder confessions to a dead person.
We need to send you back in there. Or you say it 13 times, and Snopes has it.
13?
Yeah,
I did it 5.
Did you do it 5?
Yeah, well, you told me 5.
How you weren't in there that long. How quick did you say it?
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary.
It's actually abbreviated. BM.
So, and
I would have, but I couldn't think of one.
The other versions say you say Hail Mary, but it's Hell Mary. So
Hail Mary.
It's the different one, yes. So, nothing happened? Jeez, I was hoping.
Well, she didn't stick her head in the sink.
We should have made her stick her head in the sink, like she's bobbing for apples. It's Stick her head in the sink and say, I killed your baby.
Have you looked at that sink?
Yeah, I don't
you
think
may never get your face back out of it.
You don't know what you'll be seeing after you look at
that's right.
that.
Well, we've got a caller. This is Sandy. Hi, Sandy. You're on the air.
Hello, Sandy.
Hi. The other day, I went to the bathroom to see how badly my roots needed done.
That could be scary
for that
on
one.
a whole other level.
Brushed my hair back on the sides and on the top, and there was my mother looking back at me.
Oh, jeez.
No, that happens, Nick, when you get older.
It was a minuscule second, and I thought, oh my God, and then it quickly passed, but as fast as I saw her in my own reflection, she was gone.
Okay, now you're saying you're starting to look like your mother, or that your mother was behind you?
You didn't win any mother-daughter look-like contest,
did you?
did you?
Behind me, it was that
you look.
The reflection was, was so strikingly like my mother.
Well, did you look like your mom when when she was younger?
I look a lot like my mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, see, if I see my mom,
you look totally different.
I'll be scared silly.
So. I would too.
Like one of my friends said after my father died, I was on the telephone with her and walked from my dining room into the living room, and I said, my father smoked cigarettes, so he always had that smoky Camel cigarette, the smell about him, Yep. That is, as we all have our own particular odor, And I said, oh, Dorothy, I smell my father's smell, And she said, oh, you're spooking me out. And I said, no, it's not. It didn't frighten me at all, not at all. And then when I told my son, he said, the only way I'd be frightened was if I smelled someone else's smell.
No, yeah.
But I did smell. And he'd been gone quite some time. It wasn't like there was anything in the house that, it was kind of like, I think he did it to let me know he was close by.
Yeah, that's probably it.
As long as it comforts you, as long as it doesn't freak you out, that's
it was a comfort. It didn't frighten me at all. Not at all.
We had this one woman call. I can't remember if we ever talked about this. It wasn't in this area, but she was looking for help because she thought that her mom was visiting her house, and she was getting concerned because it was scaring her daughter and all this. And she kept saying, well, we always smell lemon pledge when she's around, because she, was one of those people that kept everything clean. And, we're like, well, send us some pictures, before we drive down, and, we'll see if, we need to see anything, because she's, talking about different areas where she saw stuff, like the kitchen. So we get these pictures, and we're looking through them, and we're looking on the counter, this is like a picture of just the kitchen. It's like a trailer. Right there on the counter is lemon pledge, where she'd been cleaning her house. So it's like, okay, when you clean your house, does your mom visit? Well, that's when it usually happens. I think she's, helping me clean, or it's like, do you use lemon pledge?
I'll be darned.
Well, yeah. I was like, well, there you go. That's why you're smelling lemon pledge.
Because she's using it. So
because she's using it. So sometimes people can do that to themselves, but not with the cigarettes. If they're, if you don't smoke and they're there.
No,
I know every now and then I'll smell, like I'll be out, like walking down the street or something, nobody around me, and you'll start of a sudden smell like the perfume or something, and I have no idea where it's coming from. And I'm talking no one around, like down, you know what I'm talking about, like by the side of the road or something, and I'll just smell like this really strong perfume. Like, where in the world is that coming from? So.
Some hooker ghost is following
me. Some hooker ghost is following me.
Just that you're open to it, and you get to smell it, I suppose. Now, I have photographs. When you mentioned photographs, I have photographs taken in my sister's home where my brother-in-law's mother's ashes are up in the closet.
Yeah.
And my mother died in that home.
Yeah.
And in the photographs are all these little bubbles that show up on the...
Like orbs.
They're orbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they are.
and they're not on the camera. My camera lens was clean, but all these little orbs, and lots of them.
Yep. That's all little spirits.
I'll be darned.
Because Diane Donnelly, she's really into, well, I call her the ghost whisperer for around here. And she's got photos taken in all the cemeteries around here. And you would be amazed at the orbs in these pictures.
Now, the one thing you got to be careful of when you're taking those and you see them, depends, like if it's a dusty room, that dust will also give you that appearance. And you can usually tell if there's a lot of them. I mean, if they're all over the place, then you've got dust going in the lights. Now, if you have a couple or, or they're really oddly spaced, I guess, then you can start getting into the... Because when we go to the prison, you'll get that sometimes.
And these are different sizes, and they're kind of all around the kids. That I say kids. They're married now, but they were around my niece and her husband. They didn't look like dust to me.
Oh, good. And they're different colors and stuff too.
They're almost and they're almost like if someone blew bubbles. Soap bubbles.
Yeah.
That's what they look like, soap bubbles.
Oh, that's cool. I'd like to see those.
Okay.
If you want to send them to us, whispers1600@gmail.com.
Yeah, can you email them?
I'll give it a try.
Well, either that or just, bring them over and we'll give them back to you. You could drop them off here.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
Because I know Nick could probably, can you scan them in?
Yeah, I can scan them.
Yeah, he could scan them in, too, and we could get them up on the website.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
All right.
Thanks, Sandy.
Thanks for taking my call.
See ya.
Have a good one,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I have relatives who a few years back, I won't go into detail because I don't want to talk about who they are because I haven't talked to them, but whether they want me telling this, that's why I won't mention names or anything. But I have relatives who had one of their sets of parents died in this house. And they eventually had, circled around and moved back into this house. And I don't know how, it's an older house, but they have stories of the parents, mostly the mother, I believe. They have stories of hearing her or spotting something quickly and stuff, to the point there again of when I've visited that down, like outside of their house, I would always get this creepy feeling that out of the old bedroom window that they passed in.
For somebody who does not believe.
I told you I have a very overactive imagination.
I'm telling you,
That's why the pen trip is going to be fun for me, because I have a whole different outlook on it than other people
And
might.
you know who's going to run out crying like a little girl?
Him?
Yep.
I just want to know who's going to be behind him. I think Sammy. We're going to start a poll before we go. We'll have all the names
who's going to punk first?
Yeah, we're going to, have minutes, 20 minutes in.
Don't be, my name better not be on the top, because I'm telling you, y'all will lose money. I am not going to punk on this trip.
Lola will lock herself in a cell and hold out.
I will. I'll get in a corner and just go embryonic, but I am not going to.
We'll have to wait for dawn to get her out.
But I'm not going to run out of there screaming. I'm not. I'm just telling you.
I have faith in you.
Because I know everybody's thinking that that's what's going to happen.
20 at
I got 15 on Lola.
What minute are we going at here?
Dan's going to be the one. He's going to be the one that's going to walk out of there. We'll never get him to admit it. But he's going to be the one to walk out a full believer by the end of that night. But he'll never admit it because he's been so adamant about.
Now the top of it, when you say the top of it, the top pull, for money, and if anybody wants to call in and bet, we'll...
Now we can't. This is for entertainment purposes only.
You can place bets on Whispers Radio.
We'll get Sammy to handicap this, but at the top is you won't even walk in, and hopefully you'll be able to walk into the lobby.
You guys, I'm telling you.
I think Lola's sick that night, isn't she?
Yeah, Lola's. She came there with the flu all of a sudden.
Oh, I knew. I can feel it. I'm going to be really ill sometime in May.
Right near the end.
Third week.
Now, we were talking about the movie that we talked about with the mirror. Have you ever heard of Candyman?
I've heard
of it, but I never saw it.
It's the same thing where they say Candyman 3 or 5 times or something. And it's some Clive Barker movie, and he's got this kind of like sweet kind of He was a former son of a slave, and if you say his name, then he comes and kills people or something. There was 3 of them. Candyman Farewell to the Flesh, and Candyman 3 Day of the Dead. I remember watching the first one. That was pretty good.
There was one, I remember a movie that I really liked. It was the same concept where they said his name 3 times and he appeared. And that was Michael Keaton in Beetlejuice.
Was it? Oh, Beetlejuice. That is right. I forgot all about that. Tally Me Banana. I got to watch that again. That was a great movie.
I haven't seen that since it came out.
I remember the cartoon. You remember the cartoon for Beetlejuice?
Yeah, the cartoon.
That was great. That is right. We're going to send you back in and say Beetlejuice 3 times, see if we can get Michael Keaton on the air.
Yeah. I never did get through that movie.
You didn't like that movie?
See, now if she didn't get through that movie, she'll never get through The Pen.
Well, not because I was scared. There was just something. I don't really like Michael Keaton in the first place. And it must have been probably the time that I was going to watch it, and I just thought, this is dumb. And I never have tried again.
I am outraged.
Yeah, well.
What a great movie, and you just...
Well, sorry, but...
I'm not talking to her
like
anymore.
Michael Keaton.
I was going to say, wonder if she liked Batman. I mean, who could not watch Batman? I think he was one of the better Batman.
Yeah,
Did you like Batman?
With Michael Keaton.
Tim Burton, Michael Keaton.
No,
Jack Nicholson.
To tell you the truth, I haven't seen any of the Batmans. The only one I really wanted to see is The Dark Knight.
You've not seen that
and
either?
Batman Returns. I've got that on my really DVR. But
it's like 2 whole separate spins on Batman. You got the serious one, and then you got more of the cartoon.
Yeah.
Almost kind of.
Well, that's why
weird.
Okay,
Tim Burton thing.
I love Tim Burton.
I love him too. That's why I like it.
I love his animated.
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
I've never seen
James
that.
and the Giant Peach. That's really good too.
I've never seen Nightmare Before Christmas. I need to watch that.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's really
you
good.
Gotta have a caller?
This is Don.
Hey, Don.
Hi, Don.
Hi, guys. Well, I don't know if this really happened. Well, it really happened, but I don't know if there's anything to it. And someone out there might have seen it too. This probably happened, say, 35 years ago, and I've always thought about it, and I'm not really sure what it was. But when I was a kid, I used to go fishing up above Pike Island Dam and that was still back when the train tracks ran up West Virginia side. And I used to go up there, I'd say probably 6 in the morning, just about light. And I was sitting there along the riverbank one time, and I hear somebody behind me, which wasn't unusual because there was always some kid coming up there in the morning. And it was this old-looking, ragged guy wearing what looked to be a Civil War uniform.
Huh.
Just kind of coming up, walking the railroad tracks. And that was back before anybody was scared of anybody.
Uh-huh.
And I just turned around and said, hi, just like I would to anybody. And he just kind of shook his head at me and kept walking. And I used to go up there all the time. I had never seen this guy before. Never seen him ever again.
Now, is there, and pardon me because I'm not really familiar with the history. Was there a Civil War battle here at all?
Yeah.
Was there?
Not there weren't battles, but I know there was some kind of encampment here, right?
Well, there was activity around here, but a lot of guys went home, followed the railroad tracks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If they was coming up, but I don't know. It could have been just some old bum. I don't know. But
someone found a uniform.
It was weird.
Was he walking behind you?
He was walking up the tracks, going like towards Wellsburg area. I was up on 2 above Pike Island.
Now, did you see him walk all the way out, or did he disappear?
It was, well, you know what's weird about it? It was just one of those real foggy mornings. So you just kind of seen him kind of go away and kind of disappear into the fog, just like a ghost would do. But who knows? It might just been fog, and I might be just a dumb kid. I don't know.
Some guys listening like, I remember this. I was drunk.
I choose to believe that it probably was.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the Civil... when a Civil War... now was this Northern, Southern?
He had a
Union
blue uniform on, so it was Union.
Yeah, but, that's interesting.
And I just often wondered about that. Just through the years, I always remembered that. And like I said, it could have been just some old man, but he never spoke. He just kind of shook his head.
We need. Did Jordan ever mention the picture we got from my uncle? My uncle Carrie is a Civil War reenactor, and they were out.
I've seen that picture.
We showed you that picture, and I can't remember if we mentioned it on the air. They were out doing a Civil War reenactment. He was reenacting the southern side, and they're taking pictures of them at the cannon, firing it off. And he knew, who was at the cannon, because, they all know everybody, each other. Well, standing at the cannon, I think there's 2 people that were not there. One of them holding one of those sticks, they use to push the ball down, and then someone else at the end. And he said, number one, there's 2 sticks there. They only had 1 stick. He knew the guy that was holding the stick. The other guy, no idea who it was. And then the other one, no idea who that was. And that was a really creepy picture. I think that just stirs it up. So that'd be interesting.
Jordan
should have had a camera.
Jordan has that picture?
Jordan has that picture. I need to scan it and put it online.
I'll have to see it.
Yeah, it's a really cool picture.
I just thought I'd throw that out there. Maybe someone else has
you.
seen something similar. I don't know.
Now this is up above Pike, the Pike Dam?
Yeah, above Pike Island Dam,
Dam.
West Virginia too,
Did he have anything else detailed, like a canteen, a gun?
I really didn't pay attention. I just remember he was just an old, kind of a tall, thin, old guy.
Huh.
And I don't know. Of course, you don't pay much attention because I'm more worried about fishing.
Yeah, of course. Did you catch anything that day at least?
Well, I always thought so. I was, probably 11, 12 years old, whatever, it was. But that's my little story.
Well, thank you for your call.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Thanks,
Talk to you later. Yeah, I've always wondered, you hear a lot about the Civil War ghosts. It'd be cool. I wonder if there's any ghosts, over, and I don't really pay attention too much to Europe and stuff from, like, World War II.
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up.
I don't want to make a call to you.
No, but she does have a nice voice, doesn't she?
Well, I'm married.
Yeah, me too, but I want to talk to that woman one day. We got to find her. Dan, you're Dan. What am I talking about? Steve was talking about, and I've been listening to him talk about the theme park that's coming up here. Have you heard about what the theme is for the theme park?
Wild Escapes.
Well, Wild Escapes.
That's the name of it,
what
but
the
I don't know
actual
what the
theme is?
Amusement.
Well, no, it's the giant.
An 8-year-old giant. Yeah,
that leaves his toys laying around.
His toys laying around.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we have 4 minutes, and that was our guest.
Oh, okay.
We have nothing on the website about him.
Yeah, it's up.
He said there wasn't anything on the website.
I just posted it before the.
Well, I'm just telling you what he was grabbing about. So we've got 4 minutes to the top of the hour break.
And okay, I like the theme though. It's not up here.
Well, see, my idea was that you could have, where you pay for your tickets and stuff. It could be 2 big feet, and you have to walk between his legs.
Yeah, and I heard what
the entrance.
Yeah.
I heard what Steve Tarr said about the Patch Adams. I think he misunderstood what you were talking about.
Oh. I don't remember. I remember the movie, but not everything.
Sure.
But
it says it's up there.
Well, it would be interesting to just have the big 8-year-old as the entrance.
Yeah. I don't know if they're planning on having like a huge child, but what the hell? Look at Vegas had that cowboy for years and years and years. Was one of the landmarks. That Vegas sign too. I thought it was really, really big, and I was all excited. Oh, I get to see that "Welcome to Las Vegas" sign. Mm-hmm. It's really small.
Really?
Yeah, it's probably only about 20 feet tall. And I just was amazed. Anyway,
it'd be like seeing the Hollywood sign, and it being only like 5 feet tall. It'd be
Yeah, but it's really big, but it's really the Hollywood sign is really crappy.
Is it?
Yeah, it used to say Hollywood Land was the development. And then the land fell off, and it just
kept the Hollywood.
Yeah, probably slid down into the ocean.
That would be ironic.
As where the rest of LA should go, but
I don't know why, but it's.
But who's judging?
Yeah, not me. I'm not judgmental.
I don't know why Mr. Marzulli's post is not going up, but I have published it.
Well, anyway.
Just on top of the day, my computer crashed this morning.
Well, you can apologize to
him. I will
yeah.
apologize. I don't know why it's not working. It was up out there. I was looking at it because I had to fix it.
Well, that's just what
computers are really It's one of those
pain
days.
in the ass.
It is.
They came, remember when they first came out, it was going to revolutionize our lives. It was going to make our lives so much easier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, I have yet to see that happen.
Well, like when we had our website crashed, about 3 weeks ago, had forums going. I mean, everything was working perfectly. And, I mean, the whole thing just crashed. We lost everything. And
this website?
Our website, yeah. So
no, it was off of your Whispers Radio.
Yeah, the Whispers Radio. Everything crashed on it. He's still trying to get it to where I can actually log in and fix stuff.
Isn't that Australian guy?
A Pixie Miza.
See?
He is still trying.
See?
You
know what?
Australians
was it just before or just after we had Barry from Ireland?
It was before that, wasn't it?
It was before that, but we could still blame him.
Well, not him, but you could blame the
gremlins.
Well, yeah, the little pixies and
fairies.
Fairies, yeah.
I would like to blame them.
Well, somebody told me a long time ago that think of a computer as little guys and they're running around doing it. Mine are all on strike. They refuse to work.
Mine are too. I don't know what's wrong with this.
It is.
Yeah, let's take a break so I can fix this.
Top of the hour.
Is he on hold?
No, I got to call him back.
I'll apologize. I have no idea what's wrong. I
can
only do so much, people.
Oh, my God. He is so overworked, honest to Pete. All right, we will be back.
I am on a strike.
Pulling out at first dawn's light.
Welcome back to Whispers on AM 1600 WKKX, Valley's Watchdog. It's 50-something, who knows. Is it still warm outside?
Still.
Yeah. And
what is it? Sammy, what?
It's not too bad. A little bit chilly, but it's nice compared to what's been.
At least it's not cold.
It's not
Sammy
snowing.
has joined us now.
Hello, Sammy. How's it going?
Doing good, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoy the show. I come in tonight.
Well, thanks. It's been a long day.
Hey, I can relate to that.
So,
now you're balanced from both sides.
Ask Lola for every day. She does bouncing back and forth.
It's taking more and more people to balance me at this point. An update, we do have, the website is now working. I did get a wrench out and hit it. It is updated and it has Mr. Marzulli's stuff on it. There we go, Lola.
Okay.
Boom, it's fixed.
Okay, L.A., you're on.
All right.
Great.
Well, hello, Mr. Marzulli. How are you doing today?
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Yes.
Good. How are you?
Sorry about that website. It was up earlier, and then I don't know what happened. It's been one of those. It's been a bad month for that website. I don't know. Have you ever had any trouble with yours?
Sure, all the time. Well, not all the time, but yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Right? Yeah.
They've got it up and going now.
There we
Great.
go.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Now, your latest book, Alien Interviews. I actually was looking at a copy of it last night. You can buy it on your website, download it as a PDF, which is what I did. LAMarzulli.net is the website you can get that at. How did you get the idea to do something like this? This is very different than what a lot of other books I've read that deal with this subject.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I appreciate that, and I hoped also that it would be a little different. And it is different because there's 17 interviews that I conducted, which make up, of course, the body of the book, and then I weigh in at the end of the book, and kind of, in a little sort of a chapter that says, what does it all mean? And I give the reader my 2 cents on the phenomenon. But what's interesting about it, and the reason why I wrote it, I was actually on a show, and the host was really rude. He went on for like almost a half an hour rant, saying that UFOs and the whole alien phenomena with abductions, crop circles, alien implants, cattle mutilations, all a bunch of bunk. So he just took all this evidence and he arbitrarily decided, because it's his show, that this was just a bunch of nonsense. And so no matter what I presented to him, it was immediately ridiculed, and sources were just, this guy was obviously a shill.
Sure.
And I was incensed because, this guy is really doing a disservice to many Americans who have had experiences like this. Look, if it was 1 or 2 experiences every 10 years, I wouldn't be writing about this stuff, okay?
Exactly.
Wouldn't say a word. But there are roughly 400 experiences, 400 sightings, actually between 300 and 600 sightings per month. Now, that's up in some places like Canada, well over 50%. so that more people are seeing these things. It's not going away. There's a saying I constantly use: while we may disagree as to the causation of the phenomena, we can agree that it is real, it is burgeoning, and not going away. And so I was incensed, and rather than call up the guy and get angry at him on the phone, I decided to write a book. What better way to to express my views? And some of the people who come on are highly educated men: Dr. Jacobs, Dr. Roger Lear, Dr. Jesse Marcel, retired Major George Fowler, Dr. Lynn Katai, Dr. Wenger, and then just a host of everyday people that have had close encounters, up front and personal. So the 17 people that come on the record, it's all hands-on experiences. They're not talking about my Aunt Betty, 15 years ago who saw a strange light in the sky. These are people that have actually encountered either the craft, have been abducted, have had alien implants removed, or talked to the abductees, or been involved in the abduction phenomena, or contactees themselves. So it's very much hands-on, and that's why I wrote the book.
Now, I know you have Dr. Jacobs, and I read that one. Of course, that's the first one in there. And he talks about at the end of his the interview, talking about you can't use prayer and so forth to get rid of what's happening. And then I know there's another one. Let me see, I have the name written down here. Is it Joe Jordan?
Joe Jordan,
Joe
sure.
Jordan says you can use prayer. So I mean it's one of the interesting things about you mix up. You have some people that are saying this. You have some people that are believe this thing. I mean, how can you how do you balance that out? I mean, I guess in your own mind, which one do you believe or are there different, different types of entities that are coming down and doing this? What do you think?
Well, if you go to the back of the book when I weigh in, and you'll notice that there's no editorializing on my part in any of the interviews. I don't weigh in on the interviews. I leave that up to the reader.
They are. Yeah.
Yeah, I give an intro and an outro, and that's it. I mean, it's up to the reader. All I'm trying to do is to present that there's a phenomenon. There's something going on here. We need to dialogue about it. We got to stop the ridiculing of people who come forward with this stuff. Look, I spoke to a guy. Actually, let me answer your question, then I'll move on.
Sure.
But the bottom line is this: when you move to the very end of the book, when you read those last 10 or 15 pages that I weigh in on it. I equate all this, and I bring in the whole Shroud of Turin and the mystery behind that. And I believe that these entities are malevolent, highly malevolent. And people who argue with that, let's strip it down and expose the truth. Anybody who comes in the middle of the night and abducts you against your will and performs sexual experimentation on you, that's kidnapping and rape. Now, do we want to talk any further? You know what I'm saying? And the old excuse of, well, maybe they just don't know that. Baloney. If they've been watching us as long as they have, they know exactly what they're doing. It's very, very deliberate. And they create this climate of fear, and they move in this fear. They terrorize their victims. I mean, the whole phenomena is incredibly horrific, and they move with impunity. I mean, there was a film on the History Channel, UFO Hunters, over O'Hare Airport, and it was interesting. Some of the digital cameras that we have now have infrared lenses. So why they're not, the human eye doesn't see particular photographs, let's say. Anything with an infrared shows a different spectrum of light. Well, this guy was blown away because when he developed the film, is his jet taking off. Right in front of the jet is a UFO. I mean, it's plain as day. This thing is streaking, in restricted airspace over O'Hare Airport in Chicago. I mean, these things move with impunity. They conduct abductions with impunity, cattle mutilation with impunity. They do whatever they want, and they're basically giving everybody, the middle finger. You can't stop them, and it's interdimensional. And this is what, of course, I believe. Now, I weigh in at the end. This is my belief system. But what I'm trying to do is to have as many different people come on the record with different paradigms and different worldview. Look, Dr. Jacobs and I, we agree that the phenomenon is malevolent, but we disagree as to the cause of it and what is causing it, okay? We disagree on that.
What do you think is causing it?
Well, in my opinion, I believe this ties into ancient prophecy, specifically talked about, thousands of years ago. And let me clarify something. When I say prophecy, I'm not talking about let's say Nostradamus' prophecy, which is at best is very sketchy and can be interpreted in a variety of ways. I'm talking about prophecy that we have, let's say, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the Book of Enoch, Book of Revelation, Book of Daniel. Some of these things, people know that they're in the Bible, but they've never taken them out and read them. And these prophecies are very, very specific as to what is going to happen. And let me just give you a few of these. It says that even the elect would be deceived if that were possible, that men are fainting from fear from what is coming on the earth. There'll be signs in the skies and in the heavens. Okay, that in the days of Noah, it will be when the Son of Man returns. What the heck does that mean? Specifically, it means that we need to look at what differentiates the days of Noah from any other time in history. And any student of prophecy, and certainly the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Book of Enoch, you're immediately going to find out that this is a reference to the Watchers, or the fallen angels, known in the Hebrew as the Benayo Elohim. These guys were screwing around, literally, and they were the reason for the flood. They were fallen angels that came to earth, had sex with the woman. They created a hybrid race called the Nephilim. And these Nephilim probably, in my opinion, and others, Steve Quayle certainly weighs in on this, were responsible for the megalithic structures that we see around the planet. For instance, Baalbek, Teotihuacan, and others. Perhaps even the Great Pyramid. I mean, no one really knows who built the Great Pyramid. And they don't even know how they built it.
The story of, people using stones and moving them into place and stuff. And
right.
It's hard to swallow at times.
Well, I just watched something on, I think it was one of the Discovery channels or something over the weekend, where a French architect has taken, I don't know, some computer program that breaks down three-dimensionally and you can build things, I don't know. But anyway, he claims to have come up with a theory on the pyramids anyway, that there was a ramp that runs just inside the walls of the pyramid, and that's how they managed to build it, because it would be in the inside. I don't know. Anyway, but what I wanted to ask you about was...
I saw the same program, by the way, and it was an internal ramp that was built at the same time that the pyramid was built. Unfortunately, there seems to be scant evidence, even at the end where they showed the infrared view of the pyramid, there seems to be that perhaps his theory is right. But it still begs the question, how does one take these megalithic stones? When you go into the king's chamber and you look with any amount of discernment at the way these stones are fitted in the king's chamber, I mean, give me a break. We'd be hard-pressed to do that kind of stonework today with modern cranes.
We tried, and we can't even do it.
Well, I honestly, I don't believe that the Egyptians did it on their own.
Likewise, I find that hard to believe.
What I wanted to ask you about was this Dulce, New Mexico, that whole theory of... the aliens coming to terms with our government and having, this huge laboratory 1 mile down into the earth, and that we have consented and are working with them on biological and genetic experiments on humans and on animals. And I don't know. I just thought that guy kind of sounded... like that to me, I just can't.
Talking about Norio Hayakawa?
Yeah.
I'm familiar with Norio's work. And what he's talking about is something that is so foreign and so bizarre that we immediately shrink from it. And yet what we see in the ancient manuscripts, specifically the Book of Enoch, we see exactly the same sort of mischief. You could also make a very strong case, maybe not a very strong case, but certainly a good case, that perhaps the ancient mythos of Greek mythology, where it's talking about centaurs and minotaurs, are actually real. In other words, they were genetic experiments. Let me explain something. Let me elaborate on this a little bit. When I was researching the material for my first novel, Nephilim, this is like 10 years ago now, over 10 years ago, I interviewed a gentleman who works at Amgen. And this man is a geneticist, man. He really gave me the background that I needed for Nephilim and opened my eyes to what is going on at places like Amgen. Now, these are places that we know about. This guy was kind of a low-level tech guy, nothing in secret. And I asked him, what kind of experimentation are you guys doing? Now, this is 10 years ago. Low-level geneticist, okay?
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that they're doing. And he was able to share this because it wasn't classified. They would isolate first the gene which causes a firefly to glow. They would take that gene and inject it into a frog's egg. and then the offspring would be a frog that would glow in the dark like a firefly. Okay?
Yeah.
That's 10 years ago from a low-level geneticist. Who knows what these guys are screwing around with?
But what I had a really hard time with was, like you said, they move through time and space completely unmolested. Why would they even deem it necessary to come up with an agreement with humans, let alone our government, to do these type of experiments? I don't get.
I'll tell you. And look, I've walked with this thing. I've walked down this path for 2 decades, or well over 2 decades actually. And I've hit some crossroads on that path that were very, very disturbing. And sometimes I would linger at those crossroads and debating and trying to, my mind would reel. When I first got into the abduction thing that Dr. Jacobs was talking about, I read about 20 pages and put the book down for about 3 months. Wouldn't get back, couldn't read anymore. Didn't want to know about it. It was that disturbing to me. Now it's like it's no longer a shocker because I've embraced it. It's part of my worldview and part of my paradigm, and I've learned, and it fits in with what I believe. Here's what I'm saying. We go back into antiquity, specifically the Book of Enoch. If you go back into the Book of Enoch, you will find a quid pro quo, something for something. There is a trade. The fallen angels come, and they want access to the females. That's what they're there for. But for some reason, they just can't take them. There's a trade that happens, and the trade is this. They trade technology, albeit it's primitive technology from our standards today. But back then, thousands and thousands of years ago, that technology didn't exist. And that's in the Book of Enoch, which is, by the way, thousands of years old, found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it talks about this quid pro quo arrangement, something for something. That these fallen angels, these fallen beings, provide for humankind. This mirrors, jump to present day, this mirrors exactly the same phenomena that you just described, where the government is giving something, specifically access to the population. That's what they're giving us. They're giving the aliens access to the populations for the abduction experiments, which is absurd when you think about it.
Well, such as, we're not going to harass you. We'll turn a blind eye. You
Exactly.
Take a couple and
exactly.
Yeah,
and in turn, the government gets the technology, which they desperately want. Same deal.
Yeah, and of course, if you're in the middle of a Cold War, you're trying to get an advantage over another country.
Absolutely.
We can lose a couple of our own citizens so we can win the war in the end. Maybe we can use the technology later on to fight them off when we need to.
Why haven't they traded for the technology to find bin Laden in the caves?
Well, maybe they did. Who knows? So now your other book, which just ties right into politics. Got to hear politics, prophecy, and the supernatural. Now, you wrote this book a while back. Have you, with Obama now, we have a new president. I think you wrote this a little bit before, maybe at the same time as Bush. What do you think has changed since you've written the book? Has the political landscape changed to where maybe we're more favorable to starting to talk about, what's really happening, or do you think we're going to be seeing more cover-up of this? Sounds like you're fighting the same thing I'm fighting with the cough thing there.
Yeah, I just got a bunch of a little frog in my throat here today.
It's been bad.
Yeah, so I apologize for that.
Oh, no, that's okay. I've been doing it all day.
Excuse me.
No, not a problem.
Well, let me say this about that. I feel that we are rushing. In fact, I have my own radio show on Thursdays, called Acceleration Radio.
Plug it all you want.
Here you go. Thanks, guys. And the reason for that is things are accelerating, in my opinion. So Politics, Prophecy, and Supernatural was written 1.5 years ago, but it's still incredibly relevant. And in fact, some of the things that I've talked about have just accelerated and become more complex. Certainly, the UFO phenomena is becoming more readily publicly available. When we look at recent movies like Race to Witch Mountain, which I blogged about, and the new movie, the Knowing, with Nicolas Cage, which blatantly is one of the most anti-Christian movies I've ever seen in my life.
And what was it called again?
Knowing.
Okay, yeah, no.
Yeah. I mean, it is the alien gospel 101 that I write about in Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. I mean, here's the alien gospel, that the aliens created us. They created all life on this planet. They genetically manipulated us, that we believe that they were our ancient gods, and now at this critical juncture of human history, they are back to save us. That's exactly what the movie promulgates. Literally, that's verbatim right out of my book. And yet, most people sit there and look at that and have no idea what they're looking at. Have no idea. I mean, I could go on about that. I actually blogged about it over 1,000 words on Monday. I saw it on Saturday. Blogged it over 1,000 words on my blog, lamarzulli.wordpress.com, and had a gazillion comments on this thing. And I think UFO Digest just picked up the article also, so it's getting some airplay. But people need to understand that there is going to be a revealing of the extraterrestrial presence. When this thing happens, unless you know what you're looking at, you'll be deceived. What I said earlier, that the elect would be deceived if that were possible. And I believe this is the coming great deception. And this movie, Knowing, certainly is right on board with that whole idea. And indeed promulgating that, postulating, putting forth that ideology to the viewer that this is real, this is going to happen, that even though it's a movie, we were in fact the ancient gods. This ties in with a 2-hour History Channel a few weeks ago. Eric von Däniken was on Chariots of the Gods talking about the same thing, that alien. That the ancient gods were nothing more than the extraterrestrial. The Vatican, 9 months ago, came out and said that we should embrace the extraterrestrial as our brother. What is going on here? The UK released their classified documents discussing UFO flaps in the 50s, right? Mexico has done the same thing. Belgium has done the same thing. The United States has got a clamp over this thing. However, we have seen, those of us who travel in this and study it, have seen sort of a glasnost or perestroika, which is what our good friend Gorbachev coined, for more of an openness, at least in this country, regarding the phenomena.
A lot of people thought that when Podesta, Obama named Podesta, start planning, putting together the government, that was one of those. Podesta was out there saying, we should do this. So, maybe that's, that should be a sign that this is what's going to happen.
Well, there is more of an openness, but at the same time that there's an openness, I still maintain my scenario, my theory, which is nothing more than a theory, that the next event we're going to see is a war which was prophesied 2,600 years ago, which is called the Ezekiel War of Ezekiel 38 and 39. And interestingly enough, the players on that are Russia and Iran. Those are the two top players that come up against Israel. What are we looking at now? So none of that's changed. That's all outlined in the book. I mean, I really get into that in the book. And when I look at the state of the world, the state of the economy, what was it today? China's calling for a new currency, a new global currency, the end of the dollar, some sort of a global currency. Several weeks ago, Merkel in Germany, Sarkozy in France, and former Prime Minister of England, Blair, got together and said, we need some sort of a global currency.
Now, Russia did the same, too, right after that.
They've been saying that for quite a while, though, since the euro. Yeah.
Sure.
So, look, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not. We are rushing. We are accelerating towards what I would call the time of the end. Does this coincide with 2012? That's a whole other topic. If you want to, we can touch on that.
Yeah, we can get into that. We're going to quit. We need to take a break and pay some bills.
So you know how that goes, guys.
You know how that goes. So if you have any questions for Mr. Marzulli, give us a call, 304-214-1600, out of the area, 866-514-1600. When we come back, we'll talk about 2012, get into more about abduction cases and whatever else we get into. You're listening to AM 1600, WKKX, the Valley's Watchdog, Whispers.
Pulling out at first on.
And we're back on AM 1600, WKKX, 737. We're on the air with L.A. Marzulli, talking about his new book, The alien interviews, some of his old books, the Nephilim trilogy. I'm going to have to read this. Right down my alley. I love this kind of stuff. And then politics, prophecy, and the supernatural. Are you still with us, L.A.?
I certainly am, guys.
Now, we were talking over the break amongst ourselves. Dan had a question talking about the Nephilim.
I have some questions. I'll admit up front that I'm your local skeptic.
We have to have one, you know.
There's always one in the crowd. When you were speaking of the Nephilim, you said that the Nephilim they were derived from the sons of God and the daughters of man.
Uh-huh.
But how do you explain where in the Bible it says that the Nephilim were on earth when the sons of God came into the daughters of man?
Uh-huh.
See, to me that says they were already there.
Well, no. It's when you read the Book of Enoch, which is really an amplification of that account, what you realize is that 200 of these angels, fallen angels, descended on Mount Hermon. Okay? It names that very specifically. 200 of those angels fell and came down and descended on Mount Hermon, and then they moved out from there. Here's something interesting. David Flynn, another researcher, he's the author of a new book, what's the name of it? Center of Time, the Temple Mount, God's Center of Time. I think that's what it's called. But David Flynn, guy's just amazing. And he postulated that if you were to use ancient measurements, in other words, instead of like nautical miles, what we have is what a mile is today and what a mile was, let's say, thousands of years ago, there's different measurements, okay, different lengths, all right? Like, for instance, the ancients used a 360-day calendar. The Julian calendar uses a 365-day calendar, and then we have leap years, so the whole thing stays intact. Here's an answer to your question, which I think you'll find interesting, if nothing else, that if you were to take the polar opposite, right, from Mount Hermon, which intersects Syria, Lebanon, and Israel, that's where that mountain is. It exists today. If you were to take the polar opposite of Mount Hermon, 180 degrees, you wind up in Roswell, New Mexico.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And when he discovered that, I mean, all of us just jaws on the ground, because this is how these guys do this stuff. These guys are really, when I say these guys, fallen angels are very big into solar alignments, into ley lines, into astrological lining up of planets. They're totally into this stuff. I'm not sure exactly why, but they pay great detail, great attention to it. So it's very deliberate. The crash in Roswell, which I've always believed was a deliberate crash, it wasn't an accident, it was deliberate. They knew exactly what they were doing, and that's why it's crashed there, 180-degree polar opposite from Mount Hermon. So to answer your question, the Book of Enoch tells us that these angels, these fallen angels, came the first time. Then the flood happens, right? But we know some of these angels apparently were taken prisoner and chained. But then again, others were able to manifest on the planet, and that's what he's talking about, and also afterward. And that's when we see another incursion, which produces the likes of Goliath, who in fact was a Nephilim, who might have been as tall as 12 to 15 feet tall. This guy was huge, absolutely huge, and very powerful.
Now, talking about the ley lines, I've never read anything. Is Roswell lay on any of lines, or even Mount Hermon? Is that lay anywhere on lines at all?
What you should do to that?
Yeah, that's something that when you mentioned that, I was just started thinking about it.
Yeah, but what's interesting is David Flynn traveled in this stuff. I would Google David Flynn, and then Roswell / Mount Hermon, and find the article, because it's all over there. I mean, it's been widely read and disseminated over and across the internet, so you should have no trouble finding it. I don't know the answer to that though offhand.
I'll have to see if we can maybe get him on the air. Who knows?
Now, what do you believe is the ultimate purpose for aliens? What's their ultimate goal?
Well, the ultimate goal, first of all, when we talk aliens, I say fallen angels. That's what they are, masquerading. This is the coming great deception. This is what I write about in Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. This is what I wind up the alien interviews with, and that 10 to 15-page rant at the end where I kind of put things together and weigh in with what I think is happening. And it is the coming great deception. And when you look at a movie like Knowing, if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it, because it literally is, like I said earlier, the Alien Gospel 101. It's that, one, they genetically manipulated us. They were our creators. We worshiped them as gods, and now at this critical juncture, they're back again. This is exactly what the movie Knowing is saying. Also, Race to Witch Mountain basically says the same thing. We are being set up for this, and most people will embrace this lie, which to me is just, I mean, this is, look, I've written 5 books on the subject, I'm working on another one. I blog about it constantly. This is all I do. I do radio stuff. I do interviews. I speaking engagements. All this kind of dynamic. All part of what I do to make a living. But the more I look at it, I think revealing when it happens will be so overwhelming that most people will believe a lie. And this is what prophecy indicates to us thousands of years ago, that people will believe the lie. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. That's what the prophecy says, that even the elect would be deceived if that were possible. So what is coming, in other words, is strong delusion. What is coming on this planet will literally overwhelm most of the occupants in our space-time continuum on planet Earth.
Now, I noticed you had Lynn Kitai as one of the interviews, and we had her on the show a while back, and I remember her talking about what happened. She sees the huge triangle going over, and everybody she talked to, and I remember watching the movie or the documentary she put together. At the end, they're all talking about how peaceful they felt and how they feel this, this great change is coming. And I personally, I agree with you. This is what I've always felt. I've always thought it was more of a, something evil or malevolent. That's that's the background behind this. I mean, I agree with you. If you're going to come into my, at night and take me, that's not good.
No, that's not good at all.
And whenever I talk to someone like that, it's hard for me to put myself in their shoes. They've not been abducted, which I understand. I've not been abducted either. But, if they've not been abducted, they're just seeing this great thing in the sky, and that would have to be impressive. But then the jump to say that they're feeling this, presence of happiness and joy, I don't see it.
Don't discount what she said
I'm
and
not
felt.
I'm not discounting, but I'm wondering why she felt it. I've always wondered about that. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, yeah,
but
I
understand exactly what you're saying, and here's what I say to that. First of all, we can't trust our feelings, which is why the saying "cool heads prevail."
Sure.
Right? We don't go by our feelings. Our feelings, our emotions will lie to us every day. Like if I have a fight with my wife, I've learned, to walk away from it and give it 24 hours. If I have a fight with a colleague or, which is rare, but, let's say I really get into it with somebody and I am really incensed about something, I have learned, I'm 58 now, I've learned to give it 48 to 72 hours. I just taught my daughter this because she had a confrontation.
That's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah.
I was just wondering how long it took you to learn that lesson to walk away from your wife.
It took a long time.
But
that's what I've learned is 48 to 72 hours. Because in 72 hours, I'm not going to feel at all what I'm feeling now. All that emotion is gone. I have got a cool head. I can think through this thing. And just because I come up and feel euphoric, look, the German people felt euphoric when Hitler rose to power.
Of course.
And look what a monster he was. You know what I mean? So the feelings, we have to go by that stuff. And I'll tell you another thing. Every person I talk to with and I just did an interview with a gentleman who 20 years ago had an experience and finally was bold enough to come on the record. He's anonymous. He doesn't want to be known because of the ridicule. But he actually saw someone shapeshift. A woman shape-shift into a gray with the bald head, the big black eyes, and then shape-shift back. And he was just absolutely stunned. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He just sat there with his jaw on the ground 20 years ago. And, of course, she looked right at him. There was eye-to-eye contact. He had this sense of, he didn't say well-being, but he had the sense like everything was okay.
Uh-huh.
He felt sort of numb afterwards. The rest of the day, he could get no work done. And even 20 years later, when he talks about it, there's like a residue, you know. And I sent him my books, obviously, and thanked him for coming on the record and talking about that. See, when you deal with these entities, they have so much power. And let me equate it to this, okay? If you've ever been involved in a deliverance session where someone is literally demonically possessed, which is rare, but it does happen. I've had 2 of them, actually 3 sessions altogether, okay? And when you're around it, if you're not prepared for it and you don't know what you're facing, and we walk into it with sort of a cavalier attitude, you are overwhelmed by the presence of this force, absolutely overwhelmed, and you can't even think. You have trouble remembering your own name, literally. That's what it hits you with mentally. So, you know, while you think I'm going to go cast this thing out, baloney, you're not going to do anything if you're not prepared and the thing comes at you. And I've had this, you know, I've had it happen 2 or 3 times, and, you know, I've had to fight my way out of it. And I've learned now that I won't engage in that type of warfare because that's what it is, unless, A, I fast and pray and I know exactly what it is I'm going to go do, and then I'll go do it, and then the outcome's going to be different. But it fogs the brain. I mean, they're incredibly powerful. They're not, and most everyone I've talked to that's had hands-on experience one-on-one with these entities or seen, let's say, the Stevensville Lights or the Phoenixville Lights, okay, or the Mexico Flap, or, you know, just the flaps over in the English Channel. Just, I mean, whatever you want to say. One word seems to come out of everyone, and that I was overwhelmed. The experience was overwhelming, and that's my whole point. The experience is overwhelming, but that doesn't mean what you're looking at is good.
So you mean, so it's the initial reaction, and then we kind of start getting the fallout of what's actually happening behind it. That's what you're saying. Well, once we start researching into the subject.
Well, that would be, you know, if you see one, and then you have and you're researching, most of the time you've got time to do that.
Sure.
But if the revealing happens, there's no time.
Yeah.
If a 3-mile wide craft appears over Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Dallas, Texas, and, you know, Paris, France, you're not going to have time to think. You know,
like Independence Day.
Yeah.
Now, are those the ones that you believe?
By the experience.
Are those the ones that you believe are going to be triggered by the war in the Middle East?
Yeah, I do. That's my personal theory.
How long from now?
I could be wrong. Could be wrong in that, but that's what I think is going to happen.
Well, I have a question from a listener. He wanted to know if you think that the Nephilim are going to, now this is very disjointed because it's coming third person, Glastonbury tour, it's that megalithic structure that's very close to Stonehenge.
Right.
And it lays or it's situated on 2 ley lines. And
right.
He was wondering if you thought the Nephilim had something to do with that, and then with the New Jerusalem.
Well, the New Jerusalem, you know, that's really disjointed. The Nephilim is one thing, and New Jerusalem is something else. The ancient megalithic structures that are scattered around the globe, I believe many of them were built by the Nephilim. Specifically, and my favorite one is Baalbek. That's the one I write about in Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural. They house the largest 3 stones ever quarried by human hands. I mean, literally. And they're there, and you can't slip a credit card between them. And it's different than the pyramid in Giza. Giza is this huge plateau. You've got room for ropes and elephants and ramps and all this other nonsense, right? You got room to stage some sort of a massive building project. Not so in the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon, where Baalbek is located. It's not there. It's a very tight little area. You don't have room to stage all this stuff. And it begs the question, how the heck do these guys move these things? These things are huge. Plus, just a short distance away in the quarry is the largest stone ever quarried by human hands. This thing is I think it's over 65 feet tall. The sides are like 14 feet wide. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's like, you know, what are these people thinking? And Occam's razor, which tells us that the simplest answer is usually the best, archaeologists won't get in. They have no answer. They have zero answer how these stones were moved, who did them, and why. We know it dates back way into antiquity. So no one knows who placed them there. But Occam's razor would tell us that, gee, if you had a race of giants, 20, 25 feet, 30 feet tall. Guess what, folks? You get 50 of these guys. On the count of 3, fellas, ready? Boom. And that's how I believe these things were built. Not by men. Men may have assisted, but the giants did the moving.
Now, you all go ahead, Nick.
No,
you also believe that the latest Indiana Jones movie has some type of forewarning?
Look, the Indiana Jones movie and the new movie Knowing are all part of the same ideological bent that Hollywood is feeding to the masses. And what we must realize is that this is propaganda, in my opinion. This is absolute, blatant propaganda. The message of the Indiana Jones movie essentially is exactly the same as Knowing, even though it's a different plot line in a story, right? Different characters, different setting, different era. But the theme is the same, and that is, I'll say it again, the extraterrestrials created us, and they were the gods in which we worshipped. What happens at the end of the Indiana Jones movie when that huge saucer, right, comes up from underneath this ancient Mayan temple? What does that tell us? That tells us that the Mayans worshipped E.T., that they were their gods. It doesn't come right out and say that. It doesn't say that anywhere in the movie, but that's what it's implying through the scene.
Yeah, it's between the lines.
Right between the lines.
Yeah, we're running out of time. Just want to make sure we get out a couple of plugs. LAMarzulli.net, your website. That's M-A-R...
M-A-R-Z-U-L-L-I.
Yeah, want to make sure we get that correct.
LAMarzulli.net. There's a 2-for-1 special right now. Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural for $10 plus shipping and handling, and we send you the Alien Interviews, which is an ebook, 140 pages, packed with links, YouTube links. If you want to get into this stuff, it's a great book. We send you that for free, and it's just for $10. I mean, that's nothing.
You can't get
plus
that
shipping
anywhere.
And handling, you get both books for $10.
And then I also went ahead and put up a link to your Thursdays, the Acceleration.
That's
right. Your show on Thursdays. And, that way they can catch more if they're enjoying what they're listening to. And go ahead.
Yeah, you just go to my website again, LAMarzulli.net. Mm-hmm. There's links right to the Acceleration Radio.
And I'll have to get a hold of the Nephilim trilogy, see what that's all about. But thank you for coming on with us. It's been great. We'll keep in touch.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much.
Mr. Marzulli.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Now, Lola, I know you're kind of a skeptic on this.
Makes 2 of us.
Thank you. Sammy, let's hear.
3.
Okay.
I am going to defend my position because I'm not as much of a skeptic. I do think that if, let's say, everybody agree with me, give me at least this, that if they're fallen angels came, how would be the best way to integrate themselves into their goal? I think it would be to set themselves up as the gods. And we had Patrick Heron here. You weren't as much skeptical as him. He said the same things. You just liked Patrick Heron better because he had an Irish accent.
No, that's
I'm sorry.
That's not it. It's.
I just don't think fallen angels are flying around in
flying saucers.
Spacecrafts and saucers.
But what if they were?
Why would they find the necessity to do that? They would have powers anyway.
They have the ability to mix right here
Absolutely.
beside us.
They have the power anyway.
Yeah.
But during the Greek period, during the Egyptian period, it's easier to say, I'm up on Mount Olympus and I'm a god. You have to help your god. So now you can't do that anymore, so what's the next thing?
You integrate yourself into the scientific community, into all. I mean, who's to say that?
Well, there are some people that say that the presidents are reptilians.
Well, that's
could be the same
like the
thing.
TV series V.
Look at John McCain. I mean, seriously, John McCain's a reptilian. Look at his neck.
I'm not buying a lot of this crap, and he lost me when he said that there was a necessity to come to some kind of an arrangement with our government.
Mm-hmm.
You've
always been a skeptic of that.
That's ludicrous. First of all, that there's some laboratory a mile down into the ground, and they're
Mesa,
doing all these weird experiments, and why would they, if they can fly around in spacecraft and they have all of this intellect and technology. Why come to any kind of an agreement with humans? We're just little guinea pigs to them. So, that loses its argument right there.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of, and because I've been thinking about this since last week when we talked about it, the only thing I can think of is that way we don't interfere at all.
We don't interfere now. We don't interfere now.
We'll eventually have him back on because he's been wanting to come back on. Frank Pacino.
Oh,
remember talking about the Ogilvy crash and everything?
Yeah.
Back then, supposedly we were firing at them.
Oh, but for everyone that we may have fired at, thousands of other ones were wandering around the world.
Quite a bit, yeah.
So
I just have a problem with hearsay. So this book of interviews to me is just totally. Great minds make up great things. Look at Star Wars. It doesn't exist, but it's a great,
Yeah.
And aliens and UFOs go right up there with sorry, Nick.
I don't want to.
What?
I don't want to piss a lot of people off, but the minute people start interjecting religion into something that to me is purely a scientific question,
yes, sure.
That just right away you lose me.
See, no matter what though, I feel, and I agree with him on this. No matter what, I don't think they're up to any good. And I'll agree with him on that. If you're going to come and, kidnap somebody and rape them, like he said, I don't think you're good. But
what do we do with rabbits? What do we do with rats and mice? Because they are the things that we experiment on.
So and something bigger than us is taking us for.
That absolutely.
Damn, doing end up
if they can get here from another galaxy and all this other kind of stuff, then what are we? We are this backward, not even a civilization maybe in their mind.
We're the Mingo County of the galaxy.
God, now you're the one who's being insulting. I'm saying, you should apologize to Mingo County. That is your hometown.
So sorry, Mingo
that
County.
Is where your people came.
If
I were you, I would be afraid to go down there anymore.
Somebody's name just got scratched off the billboard.
Absolutely.
Welcome to Mingo County.
They don't even have a billboard in Mingo County.
Well, if they did, your name wouldn't be on it.
That's right.
If I buy it, it will be.
All right,
$20.
gang, we are done. We are done.
I'm sorry, Mingo County.
All right.
We'll have to get to the point where I'm starting to apologize to people after every show.
When's your next show?
Let's see. You need to take a page out of my book. I never apologize for anything.
The Lola Book of Broadcast.
That's right.
No apologies, no holds barred.
That's right.
All right. Well, next week, right now I'm still in the process of nailing down a guest. I have a couple of people that are wanting. I'm holding contests. So.
Whoever sends the most.
Both of the ones I'm talking to are going to be great, though.
We're so in demand that we have to have a lottery for little guests to get on.
You know what? We do get a lot of emails. It's crazy. I don't know why.
It's called spam.
We have this guy from Nigeria that wants to come on.
Oh, yeah, and he's going to tell us how we can get our millions of dollars from their lottery.
I agree. I believe him. Why don't you guys believe him?
Sure you do.
All right. Well, until next week, when we have our Nigerian friends with us. You going to be okay, Lola?
Yes, dear.
All right. Don't be afraid. Only believe.